Hello everyone. First off, my team and I would like to thank you for being here today, for participating in our presentation. In this presentation, we'll be talking about doing business in Italy. And from that, we hope that you gain some insight and some knowledge on whether or not doing business in Italy is right for you and your business. My team consists of myself, Michael Murad, Nicholas Ukros, Sasha Heigen, Claudia Garcia, Anna Newman, and Rafa Hagel. In this presentation, we're going to be talking about the current market, the demographics of Italy, the economy of Italy, politics, culture, and then we're going to touch on the textile industry on the end. My team and I have all done research on foreign businesses, and we've honed in on Italy specifically. To start off with, like I said, my name is Michael Murad. I'm a sophomore at St. Edward's University, computer science major. I've been studying foreign affairs in foreign countries, and like I said, we've been honing in on Italy specifically. So what I'm going to be talking about today is the current market in Italy, some of those successful businesses in that market, and how you guys can invest your time and money in Italy. Italy is an extremely individualistic society, meaning they emphasize on family ties, who you know, what you've done, and take that into a major consideration when determining whether they want to do business with you. We all know that Italy does cultural, food, and fashion to the T. I can name a whole bunch of companies and industries that have been extremely successful in Italy. Gucci, Lamborghini, D&G, Ferrari, I mean the list goes on and on. Italy not only gets things done, but they get big, they get successful, and then they get exported, which is where you guys come in. In Italy, there's a noticeable increase in entrepreneurship, which is clearly apparent. And so you guys are probably asking, where does foreign investors come in, which is yourselves. Where do we fit in? Well, where you guys fit in, there's two different ways. You can either start a business in Italy, or you can buy a already established business in Italy. And with those, there's pros and cons to each of those. I'm just going to touch up on some of those, and then you get specifics throughout the presentation. Starting a business, one of the setbacks to starting a business is a lot of foreign investors tend to underestimate the amount of money it's going to cost to start your business, and they overestimate the amount of revenue. So you need to make sure you have a solid foundation of money to get that business started. And then if you're going to buy a business, I'm going to touch back on how Italy emphasizes on who you know and what you've done. So if you buy an already established business and none of the other businesses know you, know what you're about, they're not going to want to do business with you. It's going to be really hard to keep that business going and to keep that revenue coming in. A lot of foreign investors tend to go into the catering, gardening, landscaping, and food industries. And to get more specifics on that, we're going to talk about the economics next. And what I've talked about was some of the major businesses in Italy and different ways that you guys can invest your time and money in that. So with that said, I'm going to pass it off to Nicholas to get some economics.
Thank you very much, Michael. So good afternoon. As Michael said, I'm Nicholas. I'll be talking today about the economy of Italy. I'm a student at St. Edward's University. I have a minor in economics, and I did extensive research on Italy. So moving on, today we're going to talk about three main things. The first one is the history of Italy. We're going to talk a little bit of the background of how was Italy before our days. Then we're going to talk about how is Italy today, and then we're going to talk about where Italy is going in the future. The objectives of this presentation are to show, first of all, that Italy is an economy that is healthy right now, and then to show that there is a war against corruption that is going on in Italy, and this could probably have an effect in the economy. So, the history of Italy. Before World War II, Italy was mostly an agricultural country. They had a lot of grains, soybeans, beans generally. It was very agricultural. But then after World War II, Italy became a very industrialized state. with the help of a lot of businessmen in Italy that wanted to invest their money to put the economy of the country at the same level as the economy of the big economies of Europe. And then also with the help of the big countries of Europe that wanted to help Italy to the big punch that they get after World War II and make Italy a modern city and as big as the big cities of Europe. The present of the Italian economy. So today Italy is considered a net importer. They import 80% of their energy sources, and they import also 70% of the food they consume. What are the strengths of the economy? Well, the strengths of the Italian economy and processing and manufacturing goods. In Italy, what producers want is to have high quality products, like many brands that Michael mentioned a few minutes ago. What they want to do is process them and manufacture them in Italy so they can sell them and export them at very expensive prices. The most important industries in Italy are precision machinery, motor vehicles, chemicals, pharmaceuticals, fashion, clothing, and the biggest one is tourism. Tourism represents a big part of the GDP of Italy. Then, the future of the economy. The economy after World War II was divided in two parts, the northern economy and the southern economy. In the north, we have the medium-sized firms that are mostly owned by rich families of Italy. And in the south, we have a lot of government business. We can say that the north part of the economy of Italy is the productive part of Italy. It's what keeps the economy alive. And the southern part is the one that is it's unproductive, and it's what decreases the production of Italy. So what's coming in the future? In 2012, the government started a war against mafia and corruption because in 2011 there were 217 billion untaxed transactions in Italy. So the government decided 1 year later to start this war against mafia and corruption. A lot of economists think that there is uncertainty of what is coming in Italy with this process of war that the government is taking against corruption. So in conclusion, today we talk about the history of Italy. We talk about how it was dramatically impacted by World War II. We talk about how Italy became an industrialized state. Today, Italy is the number 8th state in the world. Then we talk about the actuality of Italy. We said that Italy is a net importer of food and energy sources. And then we talk also about the fact that the economy of Italy is divided in the north part and the south part. The north part being the productive one and the south part being the unproductive one. The future of the economy is basically what will happen with this war that the government started in 2012, and what will happen with this war. Thank you very much for your time, and now I'm going to pass it on to Sasha, who's going to talk about demographics.
Thank you, Nicholas. So, as Michael already said, my name is Sasha, and I'm a representative from a travel agency, which name is Ciao Italy Tours. And today I'm going to talk about the demographic, and first I'm going to talk about the population in Italy, then second religion, and finally I'm gonna cover language. So the population. According to the National Encyclopedia, the estimated population in Italy currently is 57.8 million of people, while about 10 million of people they're above the age is above 65 years old. Also, thanks to annual arrival of immigrants, the population through years in Italy have been growing. However, government, since there have been a lot of illegal immigrants coming, government decided to adopt some new policies on immigrants. So it is expected that the population is gonna decrease, and it's estimated that the population of Italy will be 57 million of people by the 2015 years old. according to the statistic in 2005, about 67% of people live in urban settings, so, and others live in countryside. So for you to build your business, it will be more beneficial to build it downtown since there will be more people. Also, the Rome is the capital of Italy, and it also is the largest city in Italy with the population of 2.6 million of people. Now we're gonna move on and talk about religion. So Italy is a very diverse culturally, however, it's largely homogeneous linguistically and religiously, and therefore the major people in Italy are Roman Catholics, and according to the statistic, it's 87% of people who is Roman Catholic and 2% of Christians. Also, there are a lot of minority groups and small communities of Greek, Albanian, German people who speak their own language. Also, if you're thinking about building business in Italy but you're not Roman Catholic, and you don't need to be scared of anything because they're not going to ask you to convert because the government provides equal freedom to all the religion faiths. So you should not be scared of that. So now we're gonna move on and talk about the language. As I already said, Italy is largely homogeneous linguistically, and official language in Italy is Italian. However, there is different south and north. They're different because the accent between them are different. It's just the same as like the New York people have a different accent from the Texas people. Also, if you are not fluent in Italy and you think that like you're gonna go there and won't be able to communicate, a lot of Italians know English is their second language because they're required to learn it at school, and you still be able to communicate there. Also, I would like to encourage you maybe to learn Italian because I can assure you that it's not a hard language to learn. For example, simple goodbye and hello they use the exact same word, ciao, for both of them. And also, if you want to impress like some of your friends and show them that you became truly Italian, you just need to start saying mamma mia all the time and they'll believe you. And so today I covered the population of Italy, talked about religion, and also the official language in Italy. Thank you for your attention, and I will pass it to Raffaello to talk about the politics.
Thank you, Sasha. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Raffaella. I'm a political scientist, and today I'm going to talk about the Italian government, foreign relations, and organized crime. As you all intend to start business in Italy, it might be interesting for you to know about the political and legal situation. So let me start off by talking about the general governmental setup. Italy has a parliamentary government and a proportional voting system. The current president of the republic is Giorgio Napolitano. He is a Christian Democrat and a former Communist Party member. He was elected in April 2013 for a second term at the age of 87. He is the head of the army and checks the political process, and he also has the right to veto the legislation, but other than that he has a pretty weak position in the government and is kind of restricted in terms of power, but this is intended due to the historical past of Italy during the Second World War and because of fascism. So the president has kind of a monitoring and ceremonial power. The core power lies within the legislature. The legislature consists of the Chamber of Deputies and the Senate. They share equal powers, and this is in fact a unique case in Western nation. Their task is basically to propose laws and to shape the outcome. Plus, they have the right to remove the government by a majority no confidence vote. The legal system is based on Roman law, and they are separated from the legislature and the executive. And this is very good because the courts played a really important role during the 90s in discovering illegal financing of political parties, and also they discovered corruption, and also they identified some politics who cooperated with the mafia. The government, as it exists right now, is kind of unpopular within the population. This is due to many restrictive laws and also sophisticated laws, and they kind of tax businesses also too much. So the corporate taxes are kind of the highest in Europe. So that's why many Italian businesses try to go abroad and invest abroad. The government has some structural problems. As I mentioned, the legislature has much more power than the executive, and that's why also the government has a lot of levels, like 4 levels, and it's really hard to push the laws through these levels. So also in the Senate there are too many interest groups. This means like there are Catholics and nationalists, and they're kind of try to prevent laws from happening. So regarding these dysfunctions in the government, it's kind of surprising that the economy performed so well during the past years. Moving on to my next point, I'd like to talk about Italian's foreign relations. Italy is a member of the EU and the NATO. However, their relations are kind of ambivalent and controversial. On the one side, they joined the EU to benefit economically from the EU. On the other side, they are skeptical towards the EU reforms, and they just adjust only to EU reforms because they have to, not really because they want to. In fact, there's a lot of corruption going on in politics, and the politicians kind of try to get, of course, the best out of for themselves and also for their country. So they don't like to be supervised by the EU and have international control. So they kind of act also in non-transparent ways, also in terms of taxes and spendings. However, the corruption came to light, and that's why they practice now a policy of shaking hands, as you can see here. This means they try to please everyone. They show more diplomacy, and they're also very pro-American. For example, they supported the US in the Iraq war by sending troops as the only European country. Plus, they support the Turkish entry to the EU because they think that they will profit economically from that. And in addition to that, I want to mention that there is a law in the Italian constitution that says if businesses come to Italy and that the government has the right to appropriate the business if it serves the Italian economy. And some US citizens have complained about that it's unjust, but the US Department of Commerce says that there is no systematic discrimination of US investors and businesses. Now I'd like to talk about organized crime in Italy. Organized crime has a very long history. There are 610 communities with a strong mafia presence. And according to Business Week, the mafia gets 9% of Italy's GDP. So the mafia kind of also blackmails the government and also business owners. And they kind of also take advantage of the problems that the government has right now. So they make so-called collusion arrangements with the small interest groups that I mentioned, like the communist parties, for example, and nationalists, and they guarantee them votes in return for protection from prosecution. However, in October 2012, they finally passed an anti-corruption law. This law was under consideration for years already, but it never passed the Senate because the politicians themselves were kind of involved in those dubious activities. In fact, the former Prime Minister Silvio Berlusconi was convicted of tax fraud and also connections to the mafia, and he was sentenced for 4 years in prison, but obviously he never went to prison because he's one of the richest men in Italy, and he also owned like all the TV channels, and so he's really rich and he didn't have to go to prison for that. So that's why I think also that it's questionable if this anti-corruption law will have a huge impact, and also the criminal groups kind of increased during the past years. And especially if the economy is bad, like when there's a downturn in the economy, then the people and businesses and also the government are kind of prone to the mafia. So it's kind of a vicious circle. So today I covered the governmental structure, foreign relations to the EU and the US, and law against organized crime. And now I'm handing it off to Anna, who's talking about culture.
Hi everybody, as Michael said, my name is Anna. I'm a retired Italian pop star, and I'm here today to talk about the modern culture of Italy. And I'm going to do so by talking about the culinary, Italian style, and also etiquette and costumes. So moving to my first point, what is the first thing that comes to your mind when you think about Italian culture? For Italians themselves, I assure you, that involves eating. In Italy, a meal is what establishes and maintains the ties among friends and families. A breakfast usually consists of, as you can see, juice, coffee, a hot roll or bread, butter, and fruits. And the lunch is the noon meal. It's a big lunch. And since the main products in Italy are grapes, olives, and wheat, the dishes are made off of those. So we have pizza, pasta, risottos, lasagna, also soup, bread, and also meat, chicken. And dinner is usually leftovers. Also, there's wine with all the meals. So now moving to my second point of the presentation, the Italian style. Appearances matter and mean in Italy. They matter in the way that the first impression or last impression. Looking good is very important for the Italians. They are extremely fashion conscious and they judge people by their appearance. So no t-shirts, no hoodies, no sweatpants. The concept of bella figura is more than dressing well. As Claudia will talk more about it in the future, it extends to the image that you show. So it's also like they can tell how much confident you are, for example, and what your style is by the way you look. Also, appearances mean as the way you dress indicates social status, family background, and education level. Italians unconsciously assume the person's age and social standing just by looking at them. For business meetings, men are expected to wear dark colored conservative dress, and women business suits or conservative suits. Everything is really fancy and accessories are always welcome as well. So now moving to my last point in the presentation, which are the etiquette and costumes. Italians are very expressive communicators. They tend to be wordy, eloquent, emotional, and demonstrative. They use a lot of facial expressions and hand gestures. The greetings are very enthusiastic. They usually exchange air kissing on both cheeks, starting on the left, so I'm going to demonstrate that with my colleague Sasha. So they basically do like that, everyone, men and women. And also when greetings is between men and men, they also give a pat on the back. Table manners are continental, forks on the left, knives on the right. They don't eat with their hands. because that's disrespectful, not even the French fries. So today I talked a little bit about modern Italian culture by presenting on Italian cuisine, Italian style, and etiquette costumes, and now I'm gonna hand it to Claudia to talk about the textile industry.
Well, good afternoon. As Michael stated earlier, my name is Claudia, and I am actually a representative of Milan's Chamber of Commerce. And I am going to talk to you about the textile industry. I'm going to give you a sneak peek of how the textile industry in Italy is doing. And my objective for today is to give you that sneak peek and tell you everything that you need to know about the textile industry. And I will inform you that it is a national endeavor in Italy. Fashion is, as Anna stated, super important. And despite the global economic recession that the world is going through, Italy's industry is still magnificent, still standing. And as Anna talked about earlier, la bella figura means, in Italian means the good impression. Italians are all about the impression that you give off. La bella figura is a traditional way of dressing for every Italian. Even a simple trip to the grocery store, you have to be dressed well. It doesn't matter where you're going, what you're doing, you are expected to dress fantastic at all times. And Italy is a culture of timeless elegance. We have established fashion since the Middle Ages. We are a world leader in fashion. The world looks to Italy to determine the next trend for the summer, the next trend for the fall. And who wouldn't like to dress that well when they have fantastic designers like Armani, Dolce & Gabbana, Gucci, Valentino, Prada. Milan is the fashion capital of the world. Who wouldn't want to dress well when you have the headquarters to those fantastic fashion designers and such a beautiful city like Milan. Milan is the 26th richest city by purchasing power, with 115 billion of gross domestic product as reviewed by Mercer's cost of living survey. So Milan, we are doing really well, and if you decide to come to Italy, Milan is the place to be. And those are just some pictures of Italy. We do host a fashion week annually. We try to host as many fashion weeks as we can to encourage our economic growth as well as the growth of the fashion industry. So, as I mentioned earlier, the fashion industry is a nationwide affair. All 20 regions of Italy are focused and participate in the fashion, in the textile industry. They either build shoes, they build the textiles, they participate in something. Italy, we emphasize high quality. That is the difference between us and the rest of the world. High quality is a must in every single one of our manufacturers. According to historyworld.net, Tuscany is the #1 in textile productions and leather accessories. Puglia is home to a big petrochemical industry, meaning therefore they're a big producer of synthetic fibers. While Milan, our specialty is silk production. If you ever get to touch silk from Italy, it is very soft, very colorful, very fantastic. And in Italy, we emphasize high quality, and not only that, but we are home to a skilled workforce, people who know what they're doing, manufacturers that have workers that are specialized in this type of industry. And this is actually a picture of Prada's summer 2010 fashion show. As you can see, very trendy, very good-looking clothing. And despite the global economic recession that the world's going through, Italy, our industry is still standing because luxury people, net worth individuals, high net worth individuals along the globe all look to Italy to make their purchases. They all own the top brands, and therefore the economic recession has not affected us. We do export a lot of fabrics. A lot of fabrics are exported all over the globe. For example, Brunello Cucinelli, it's a brand, most of you have probably heard about it, distributes to 54 countries all over the world, and 34% of its market share is just here in America. So, as stated here in the slide, Prada is becoming very popular among the growing Asia Pacific market. China and India and all of Asia, it's prospering and they're buying in Italy. They're looking to buy Prada, Gucci, Versace, all these fantastic brands. Prada, for the last 3 months of 2011, they sold 273 million euros. Translated to dollar terms, that's 364 million. That is fantastic for 3 months of sales. And just to conclude everything I've told you about the textile industry, I have discussed my objectives, which were to inform you about Italy's textile industry and how it is a national endeavor, and why, and how, despite the economic global downturn of the world, we are still standing. Now I will pass it on to Michael, who will conclude the overall presentation. And I hope you really come to Italy and do business here.
Wherever business takes you, understanding the etiquette, culture, and protocol of that host country is a key to success, and Italy is no exception. Just as you would prepare your presentation for a big meeting, you need to prepare yourself by learning the Italian ways in the business setting. To recap, to recap what we talked about, I mentioned some prominent businesses in Italy in ways that you can get started. Nicholas talked about how Italy changed dramatically after World War II, but is now one of the top industrialized countries in the world. Sasha covered the demographics of Italy and told us that there were just under 60 million people in Italy, most of which were Roman Catholics. Rafa touched on the weaknesses in Italy's structure, the weakness in the governmental structure. Anna presented on some of the aspects of the Italian cuisine, a little bit about the importance of the dress code and how to appear. And last but not least, Claudia mentioned some of the textile industry fame and what's going on with that. So if you're a medium to small sized company in Italy with a strong base foundation and wanting to do business, Italy is the place to go. Do you guys have any questions? Thank you all for attending.